Hasty here. The Kang Dynasty loses its director. I'm going to remain upbeat by speaking down and negatively about the MCU though. How do you remain upbeat when you've got a Captain America shield behind you and you're about to absolutely shit on the MCU again? Second time in a week, I think. Third time in 2 weeks. I'm going to speak down about the MCU. Destin Cretton, a man who directed one of my favourite MCU movies in the last couple of years. One of only 2 or 3 actually that have come out in the last couple of years that I really, really have enjoyed. Those 3 being Spider-Man No Way Home, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and obviously Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Those are the 3 movies that I've really, really enjoyed as an experience. One of them I didn't get the chance to see in the theatres and I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 being that one. I've seen the other 2 in the theatres. I've seen the other 2 that I mentioned, Spider-Man No Way Home and Shang-Chi, in the theatres. Thoroughly enjoyed them. And a large part of Shang-Chi's enjoyment was the directing ability of one Destin Cretton. And his ability to tease performances out of not only Simu Liu, but the man who played his father, whose name's elusive to me just now. Thought he'd done a fantastic job. I spoke about him getting the Kang Dynasty Avengers gig a couple of years ago, 18 months ago I think it was. Pardon me. And I thought he fully deserved it. Thought it was the correct choice. He was a director on the up. He was following in the footsteps of Taika Waititi, the Russo brothers. Maybe not Taika, because he had his own cult following for long enough prior to becoming an MCU stalwart. But certainly there's been directors found in the MCU. Not found, but been plucked out of obscurity. Relative unknowns, and then made something truly special using the MCU as a vehicle. And I felt Destin Cretton was one of them. So I was buzzing when he got the Kang Dynasty movie. But it now appears that he stepped away from the Kang Dynasty movie. I'm not entirely sure just now what the reasons are. I read this article last night and I'm still not sure what the reasons are as to why he stepped away from this movie. But I tell you what, regardless of the reasons, it is not a good sign for the Marvel Cinematic Universe when it's having flop after flop recently. Maybe not after flop, but it's had its fair share of disappointing movies. Financially, they're not making the kind of money they were making 5-6 years ago, even 3-4 years ago. And they're in a bit of disarray just now, the executive at Marvel Disney. They're starting to experience little teething problems and issues that we've seen with DC and Warner Brothers over the years when they were obviously trying to follow Snyder's vision for multiple Justice League movies and a cinematic universe of his own. Indecision, procrastination, sort of bickering from executive level, issues with movies being successful, critical, financial issues, losing directors for fucking personal reasons in Zack Snyder's case, keeping directors and them making absolute shit show movies like the David Ayer, I think it was, Suicide Squad. We're now starting to see the same kind of thing happening with the MCU now, and it's slightly concerning because I'm going to get into the next topic, which is also the MCU, and it confounds me a bit as well. The next topic, I'm not entirely sure or convinced with the casting that has been rumoured for a certain character. It's everywhere. I'm talking about Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, Pedro Pascal. I'm going to get into that in a moment as well. I don't know what the reasons are. I think he's working on a TV show just now. It's a Marvel TV show, incidentally. But it's concerning he's walking away from an Avengers movie to concentrate on a TV show for Disney+. And look, this is not something we're completely alien to in the MCU. We've seen this with, I want to say it was, blank on his name, Scott Derrickson left Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and obviously Sam Raimi came in. What we got in that movie, despite Sam Raimi's ability to direct, was a bit of a shit show. A really disappointing movie for me. Ant-Man, I'm blanking on his name. Edgar Wright, I think, was in place to direct one of the movies. Had to step away, and we got the guy who eventually directed it. And look, I fucking love Ant-Man, I have to say. The first 2 Ant-Man movies, very, very good. Still not seen the third one yet, which probably speaks to my apathy, my sort of fatigue of middling to average to poor MCU movies being released. I grew up in a diet. No, I didn't grow up, man. I'm talking shit. I was 19 when the first MCU movie came out. I was a fucking adult. But I've experienced the sort of, what would you call it? There's a word that I like to use all the time. I was about to say hyacinth, but that's not right. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But I've lived through the golden era of MCU movies where hit after hit after hit is coming. 2-3 movies in a year. $1 billion releases. Building to an epic story with Thanos and the Avengers facing off in a universal conflict. I've lived through that, and now what I'm experiencing is really underwhelming. So I have to stress, man, that I'm getting fucking concerned when I read things like this, that you've got Destin Daniel Cretton no longer being attached to the Avengers movie. Now, I know there's many layers to this. You've got Jonathan Major's legal issues. He has been accused of, I think, domestic abuse or something like that. He's countering it. They're going to court. It's not happened yet. And he's the main central sort of villain piece in this saga that we're building just now, that we're building to in these double-header Avengers movies in a couple of years. So it stands to reason, if you've got an issue with the guy that's playing the big bad character that you're building up to, having an epic battle with in these 2 Avengers movies, if he's got a problem, be it actually an authentic one or an inauthentic one, he's did this thing and he's not did it, and he's having to go to court for it, you cannot continue on like everything's rosy in the garden. You have to maybe halt things until we see what happens there. We don't want to do another Johnny Depp again with Amber Heard or an Ezra Miller where he flies off the fucking cliff and becomes an absolute nutbar, drinking out of people's basements and kidnapping people and all sorts. You can't have another situation like that developing, and you can't have it with such an important character like Kang the Conqueror. So it's understandable that perhaps they're hedging their bets, Marvel. They're stepping back and waiting to see what happens in terms of the legal proceedings between Majors and obviously his girlfriend and what's happened there. And that may have actually played a part in Destin Daniel Cretton stepping away. Perhaps he thought, look, I'm not going to get involved in this. There's going to be a bit of a production purgatory maybe over the next couple of years. It will get pushed back. Maybe that's factored in, and this is why he's sticking around to direct Wonder Man. But it's really disappointing, man, because I really enjoyed this guy's directing on Shang-Chi. I really enjoyed Shang-Chi as a movie. I thought it balanced that Marvel humour brilliantly with real emotive moments. Some brilliant bleeding in of Far East Asian cultural elements in the movie. You get a really good performance out of Simu Liu, who's a big charismatic guy. He was one of these characters I was looking forward to moving into the MCU long term with, and I hope we'll still get that. I presume he's going to direct the next Shang-Chi movie, but disappointing to see Destin stepping away from this Avengers movie. And again, it's the underlying issues. Is it down to Jonathan Major's court case? Is it down to him maybe just like Taika Waititi in Star Wars deciding it's not for him? He's going to pass the baton over to someone else and let it be done correctly? Or is it alluding to larger issues bubbling under the surface for the MCU, for Kevin Feige, for Disney Marvel? Because we're starting to see, without repeating myself, a lot of issues flaring up. Movies underperforming. The story's not packing the punch they used to. The characters not having the same impact that they used to. Flooding the market with TV shows, and there's too much content. People are becoming fatigued. They don't want to watch it anymore. All issues that are deeply concerning as a Marvel fan, and have to be addressed with Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, and fucking quickly. Because once the rot starts to set in, it's very difficult to eradicate it and move forward. So, disappointing news. I was looking forward to Destin stepping in to direct the Avengers movie. I know he didn't do the other one. He was only set up to do the Kang Dynasty. Purely because I think he's a great director. And again, like I says 5 minutes ago, it would have marked another young director, or youngish director, coming from relative obscurity, coming into this Marvel machine, being given a chance to direct a blockbuster movie, having a success with it, and then building his career through this vehicle, and then going off and doing what the Russos are doing, maybe doing his own thing with other movies. And now that feels like it's been stunted a bit. So disappointing news, man, I have to say. But we'll see what happens. If it means we get Shang-Chi 2 quicker, then I'm maybe a little bit happier. Because I really do enjoy Shang-Chi. And Aquafina, and incidentally, she was a standout. But look, man,